and had its best ever month in July. Much of that growth is down to goods from China. Disruptions to traffic in the Red Sea and the potential of an East Coast dock workers' strike mean businesses are putting in orders for the holiday season early. Trade is, of course, a highly charged political issue here in the U.S., with presidential candidate Donald Trump promising to hit all imports with a 10 to 20% tariff, rising to 60% for imports from China. And can the U.S. consumer continue to spend at these levels, with some signals in the economy suggesting a slowdown could be on the way? Gene Seroka is Executive Director of the Port of Los Angeles, and I'm very pleased to say that he joins me now. Gene, there is lots to digest there. So let's start off with the potential of more tariffs that candidate Donald Trump wants to enforce. How concerned are you about that becoming policy?
Good morning, Ritika. And what we have to understand, coming up pretty quickly, is whether this is campaign talk or real policy that could be put in place if he is elected. We've heard from some of the folks on the ground that this is a very serious topic. But a 10% tariff on all $3 trillion of American imports leads to higher prices for consumers and increased cost for inputs on the manufacturing side here in the United States. We're watching this closely.
And there's a threat, Gene, of course, from strikes from East Coast dock workers. And the West Coast faced a similar situation last year during some difficult contract negotiations. If the strikes go ahead, how badly could it impact supply chains, and how much extra traffic do you expect to get from that?
Now, the American port system is the engine for our economy. We need all of our ports running at top speed to continue to fuel our future growth. If there happens to be work to be done in this last 20 days or so of negotiations, we need to let the experts continue at the table with that dialogue. Collective bargaining is hard in the United States. These folks need the space to do their work and get to an agreement. And please remember, these workers on our docks went through COVID before there was enough PPE, before vaccinations, and this is their chance at the table to get paid what they're worth. This union has not gone on strike since the late 1970s. If there is to be work disruption, it's not going to benefit the Port of Los Angeles specifically. That cargo is in a specific pipeline and it will not move, hampering the U.S. economy. We encourage both sides to stay at the talks and come up with a clear deal before the end of the month.
And Gene, you're having a busy summer, but there are some underlying issues driving that. I mean, whether it's the threat of tariffs or strikes, drought in the Panama Canal, Red Sea issues. I mean, what about consumer demand? I mean, do you see that holding up? Because there have been some signs of a slowdown for the consumer.
Yeah, Ritika, the consumer has been resilient even beyond more observers' expectations. And while we'll never see that pandemic-driven craze that we witnessed several years back, it's been steady all the way through. And equal to that are the manufacturing parts and components that come through our port. Manufacturing business has been steady as well. Most retailers put their orders in 90 to 120 days before ships leave Asia coming toward Los Angeles. So that downline look is encouraging by the merchandising experts that say purchasing will continue.
All right. Well, thank you so much there to Gene Seroka, the Executive Director of the Port of Los Angeles.